For decades, Axl Rose stood as one of rock's most electrifying figures, igniting stages with unrelenting energy and a voice that could cut through steel. But today, that iconic voice, strained by years of extreme performance, shows signs of irreversible decline. As Axl confronts the toll his career has taken on his vocal cords, he must also face a deeper, more painful reckoning. One shaped not by fame, but by childhood trauma, profound loss, and years of crippling anxiety that kept him in the shadows. Born William Bruce Rose Jr. on February 6, 1962 in Lafayette, Indiana, Axl's early life was marred by abandonment and abuse. His biological father disappeared when he was just 2, and his mother soon remarried a strict Pentecostal preacher named Stephen Bailey. Under Bailey's harsh authoritarian rule, Axl's life became one of constant punishment and suffocating. Repression. "My real father was a maniac," Axl once said in a rare interview. Only later did he learn the full horror. He had been kidnapped and sexually abused by his biological father, trauma that led his mother to flee the marriage. Inside his stepfather's house, music was forbidden, television banned, and church. Attendance demanded up to 8 times a week. Any infraction was met with violence. School, meanwhile, offered no sanctuary. Small for his age and legally renamed William Bailey, Axl became the target of relentless bullying. Physical confrontations became a way to survive, and music, especially forbidden rock and roll, became his secret salvation. He would sneak over to friends' houses just to listen to the bands he wasn't allowed to hear at home. Ironically, it was singing church hymns that first revealed his prodigious vocal talent. By his teens, Axl had fully embraced rebellion. He racked up over 20 arrests in his hometown for everything from public intoxication to assault. At 17, a shattering revelation came when he discovered his birth certificate and learned his true surname was Rose. "When I found out, something inside me broke," he later told Rolling Stone. "It felt like my entire life had been a lie." Soon after, he reconnected with childhood friend Jeff Isbell, later known as Izzy Stradlin. Together, they boarded a Greyhound bus to Los Angeles in 1982 with little more than ambition and a dream. In LA, the repressive life Axl fled was replaced by the raw energy of the Sunset Strip. He reclaimed his birth name and became W. Axl Rose. He worked odd jobs, including stints at Tower Records and even clinical drug trials, while living in a filthy apartment dubbed Hell House. After several failed band projects, Guns N' Roses was officially born in 1985 with the addition of Slash, Duff McKagan, and Steven Adler. Unlike many overproduced glam acts of the time, Guns N' Roses radiated grit, danger, and authenticity. Their sound fused punk, blues, and hard rock, and Axl's voice, unlike anything before, could morph from whisper to wail, vulnerable croon to explosive rage, often within a single verse. His stage presence was spellbinding. "He had that rare quality, true star power," said Tom Zutaut, the Geffen Records executive who signed them. The band's 1987 debut, Appetite for Destruction, was slow to catch on until MTV began airing. Welcome to the Jungle. From there, the album skyrocketed, eventually selling over 30 million copies worldwide. For Axl, who had endured a childhood of pain and neglect, the success was validating, but also overwhelming. Though he had escaped Indiana, the psychological scars had followed him. As the band ascended, Axl's inner turmoil began to manifest more publicly. Panic attacks would strike before concerts, delaying or canceling performances. His mood swings became notorious, shifting in seconds from charm to fury. What many mistook for diva behavior was, in fact, evidence of deep psychological suffering. "I was clinically diagnosed with manic depression," Axl would later reveal. "I can be great for a month, then fall apart completely." In the 1980s and early 90s, mental health, especially in the macho world of rock, was rarely discussed. Instead of proper treatment, Axl turned to alcohol and drugs, further destabilizing his fragile psyche. The infamous 1991 St. Louis riot was a turning point. After spotting a fan recording the show, a violation of Axl's rules, he jumped into the crowd, cut the concert short, and triggered a full-blown riot. Dozens were injured. Such incidents became increasingly common on the band's chaotic global tours. Privately, Axl had begun intense therapy and was eventually diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, then known as multiple personality disorder, stemming from his early abuse. "I had a lot of rage and I didn't know how to handle it," he admitted years later. His therapy included hypnosis and regression sessions that unearthed horrific childhood memories, memories he was forced to confront while still living under the scrutiny of global fame. As the 2-year Use Your Illusion tour dragged on, the internal fractures within Guns N' Roses deepened. Izzy Stradlin quit in 1991, unable to tolerate the dysfunction. By 1996, Slash and Duff had also left, leaving Axl as the band's lone original member. The group that had been his surrogate family had disintegrated, leaving him isolated and adrift. After the band's collapse, Axl all but vanished. For nearly a decade, he became rock's most elusive figure, rarely seen or heard. Behind closed doors, he was engaged in the infamously troubled creation of Chinese Democracy. Originally slated for release in 1999, the album took over a decade to complete, cycling through dozens of musicians and producers. Axl's perfectionism morphed into paralysis. He'd create something great, said one collaborator, then convince himself it wasn't good enough and start all over. With a production cost exceeding $13 million, Chinese Democracy became one of the most expensive albums ever made. But the real cost was personal. Axl's isolation deepened. Tabloids ridiculed his changing appearance, weight fluctuations, and increasingly reclusive behavior. Those who once worked closely with him described a man who had built walls around himself, surrounded by people who never challenged him. When Chinese Democracy finally dropped in 2008, it received mixed reviews and underwhelming sales. For Axl, it was both a creative milestone and a bitter reminder of what had been lost. His relationship with his family remained strained, though he did reconcile with his mother before her death in 2018. "I don't hate my parents," he once said. "I mourn them." That mourning extended to his lost friendships as well. The bonds he once shared with Slash, Duff, Izzy, and Steven had long since broken, replaced by lawsuits, public feuds, and years of silence. For someone who had grown up abandoned and misunderstood, recreating that pattern in adulthood was a devastating irony. Then, in a twist no one expected, Axl reunited with Slash in 2016 for the Not in This Lifetime tour. What began with a surprise show at the Troubadour in Los Angeles blossomed into one of the most successful tours in music history, grossing over $580 million. The name of the tour was a nod to Axl's own words, once declaring he'd never play with Slash again, not in this lifetime. Behind the scenes, Axl had made significant strides to manage his mental health. He was sober, punctual, and professional, surprising longtime fans and crew members alike. "He wanted to prove something to himself," said one road manager, "that he could still do it, that he could rebuild." Though his relationship with Slash remained distant offstage, their on-stage chemistry was undeniable. Fans were moved to see Axl give everything he had, even as his voice, once supernatural in its power, showed signs of wear. On good nights he could still hit the iconic notes of Sweet Child O' Mine or the soaring peaks of November Rain. But those nights were becoming less frequent. By 2023, videos from the European tour showed Axl struggling vocally, his range diminished, his tone strained. Specialists noted the signs of vocal damage: lowered keys, backup singers covering high parts, and shortened set lists. Then, during a show in London, Axl addressed the crowd with rare humility. "I know it's not what it used to be. My voice has good days and bad days now, but I'm trying my best. Thank you for sticking with us." Now, in 2025, Axl Rose faces the most difficult decision of his life. At 63, with doctors warning of irreversible damage, he must choose whether to keep performing and risk further harm, or step away from the stage that has defined his identity for over 40 years. For a man who has poured his pain, passion, and power into every note, it's more than a career choice. It's a personal crossroads. What do you think? Should Axl continue to perform despite vocal challenges, or is it time for one of rock's most iconic voices to take a final bow?